Ladies and gentlemen, check out my last segment. The New York Post is reporting that the feds are probing AOC's campaign after sudden resignations, and they are investigating, according to the New York Post and according to Mary Kay Ling and John Levine, in an article titled "Feds Probing." Okay, so after sudden resignation, August 3rd, 2019, 9:40 p.m. So it was just, you could say, hours back. It's August 4th, but check my last segment. I explain it. I explain what's taking place in detail. If this is accurate, the walls are closing in. If this is accurate, everyone involved with Justice Democrats potentially could be part of a hypothetical investigation. If this is accurate, if this New York Post article is accurate. By the way, check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. I talk about Marianne Williamson's love goblins and the balls of wisdom and justice that fly around Marianne Williamson's words to help unlock the glowing love within me. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. Check it out. It's in the pinned comment. So it's hilarious. I find it funny, but check that out. It's my first segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's more raw, unfiltered, and it's uncompromising. Whatever. You'll like it. H.A. Goodman's other channel. And, of course, it's going to be a YouTube channel that I'm going to use to basically help people defeat any type of debate with a person who has Trump derangement syndrome. That website is coming out shortly. But check out my first segment. But if this is accurate, I believe it is possible, it is plausible that Nancy Pelosi possibly could have been a part of encouraging federal investigators or the United States government or the Federal Election Commission to look into AOC's campaign. I don't have any evidence to back this up. I'm not saying it categorically took place. I'm saying, knowing the DNC, knowing the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign because they cheated a candidate, this is a fact. Knowing the fact that they elevated President Trump under the pretext of trying to further the campaigns of people they thought were not viable, which backfired, and then they say that Russia... Then they say that Russia helped Trump get elected when they themselves in the DNC emails, you could just type in Google, DNC emails elevate Trump. DNC emails elevated Trump to help Clinton win. They always wanted Trump, Political Magazine. Salon, how the Hillary Clinton campaign deliberately elevated Donald Trump with its Pied Piper strategy. Okay? So, if you know that is the political party you're talking about, it is plausible to think that Nancy Pelosi, who had enough of AOC, had a hand in this. Or, let's say, the Democratic Party in some way. Maybe not Pelosi herself, but the Democratic Party in some way. This is why I think it's plausible, although I'm not saying it's certain. This is why I think it's plausible. AOC's campaign chairman actually had House Democrats tweet at him saying that House Democrats tweet... This is hilarious. The ongoing feud between House Democrat leadership and progressives explained. Everything's explained in the way that, is just so good for Democrats. But anyway, AOC's campaign chairman and another staffer quit. recently. Now we have the New York Post saying the feds are investigating AOC's campaign. Why? One reason is her campaign went after Sharice Davids. And then House Democrats actually tweeted back something. Her name is Congresswoman Davids, not Sharice. So actually, Sharice Davids she's a good Democratic candidate. I'm not saying that I agree with her on every issue, but I'm saying that she's the future of the Democratic Party once they crash and burn and are completely obliterated by Clinton 2020. And that's taking place. Like I said it would. She is a phenomenal new member who flipped a red seat blue. Keep her name out of your mouth, House Democrats. This is to AOC's campaign chairman. When was the last time a political party wrote such a message, this kind of message, to the campaign chairman of one of their most popular members of the political party? So this doesn't happen. The GOP isn't going after, Jim Jordan or Mark Meadows or, Matt Gaetz or whatever. But the House Democrats went after AOC's campaign chairman because, of course, the righteous, amazing, always, justice-oriented, quote-unquote progressive politicians are always picking fights. That's just the way the left is. Always picking fights. I always had to defend myself when I was on the left. It was never good enough. And I said, hey, you know what? One thing that binds all of us, isn't it that we want American soldiers back home with their families? Because that's what really fueled me when I was on the left. Apparently, the majority of progressives, the majority of liberals, and most Democrats do not care about that. That's why I love Trump. President Trump just recently, the other day, said he wants all Americans back. That was in the Hill. Love the guy. Record low Black and Latino unemployment. I don't care about his tweets. And I don't think most people of color care about his tweets. They care about the economy. If the economy is working well for the average American, if people of all different backgrounds are working and making money for their families, for their sons, their daughters, their wives, their husbands, that's more important than the choice of words that Trump uses. Whether an offensive tweet is not as offensive as the dire situation, the depression-like economic situation in Baltimore and other places that Trump is describing. That's the funny thing with Democrats. They think that their sensibilities are the sensibilities of every other American. It's not the case. That's why they lost. And they can use the words hate and bigotry until the end of time. If it's a good economy, Clinton 2020 is going to lose yet again. But the good thing is that she'll completely take the Democratic Party with her, which is what we need as a country. But AOC was becoming a thorn in Pelosi's backside. Enjoy the visual. And not only did the House Democrats have this tweet, but there was also AOC calling out Pelosi and saying, well, how come you're going after singling out women of color July 11th? Then they had, the Washington Post wrote there was an axis of Sheevil. Yes. Liberal axis of Sheevil. And so paving the way for Trump to, insult the squad. And then, of course, Pelosi paved the way. The Huffington Post also stated that. By the way, in total, I was published around 200 times in the Huffington Post from 2014 until 2017. But anyway, I am a Trump supporter now because Democrats are completely vile and sinister, but also mainly not because people say, oh, H.A. Goodman lost his mind when Bernie was cheated. No, I didn't lose my mind. Trump is a good president. Look at the economy. Look at the foreign policy. And then I love the Democrats. It's just so when they can't fabricate and set up a phony, bogus hoax that Trump worked with Russia, because that never happened. Then they blame any type of horrendous tragedy on Trump's rhetoric. Sorry, those things happened all throughout President Obama and President Bush's administrations. That's the reality. That's the fact. And I don't think that people who are bigoted and lose their minds and engage in such, horrendous carnage, I don't think they say, gosh, I'm emboldened by President Trump's record low unemployment for Latinos and record low unemployment for African Americans and First Step Act. Gee, I'm emboldened to commit such atrocities because 3,100 inmates were released from the First Step Act. Or from South Korean President Moon Jae-in saying that Trump should deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And then Trump being the first president to step foot in North Korea. Or 1,300,000 more job openings than workers to fill them. 500,000 almost 500,000 new manufacturing jobs. Wages are finally going up. Wages are up. They used to say, wages were stagnant. Well, now wages are up. And all they have is he said something offensive, and he's, they've completely, they have altered the meanings of certain words to where they don't mean anything anymore. They're just a reflexive, they're a word that Democrats use when they don't have an argument. Or it's a word that Democrats use when they don't have an argument. That's what they level at Trump. But the reality shows that he's a really horrible bigot. Because the people he's supposed to hate are actually doing better under his administration than other administrations. So how does that work? How does that work? And when Clinton runs in 2020, and she will, Steve Bannon the other day, there's some people on Twitter also, high-profile people saying, you know what, I don't have any proof, but I think she's running. I was ahead of the curve on this, and I predicted this since 2017. I also predicted she would lose the 2016 election. I also said that the Mueller probe would lead to nothing, and it led to nothing, and it exonerated Trump. It actually, when they say, well, we didn't exonerate Trump. Oh, yes, you did. You accused him of specific acts. He never did those things. And those things were, the notion that he could have done those things was part of a setup. And the top two people, they were recommended for criminal prosecution. James Comey recommended by the IG for criminal prosecution. The fact that he's not being prosecuted doesn't mean that he wasn't recommended for criminal prosecution. There's a criminal investigation into Andrew McCabe right now that James Comey's like, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and testify. But the thing is, there's a reason that this is happening with AOC, and there's a reason that you haven't really heard too many headlines nationally from AOC or even the squad. Not the way it was before July. They got into it with the Democratic Party leadership in July. So prior to July, you had her introducing the Green New Deal, and she was, very vocal, and you saw her in Washington Post articles all this time. And all of these kind of fluff pieces, and oh my goodness, she's the face of the Democratic Party. Then they kind of the propaganda. See, Pelosi and Democrats were utilizing AOC and the squad to kind of generate some type of enthusiasm, because what took place after Bernie Sanders is everyone knows they cheat. Everyone knows that when it comes to, if a candidate's too close to winning, and that candidate is like Bernie Sanders, who eventually, engaged in one of the most cowardly acts of all time by fomenting the same myth that said that Russia informed the country that he was cheated. But whenever a person like that, a progressive, whatever that means anymore, says gets too close, they then find a way to silence or to marginalize or to kick that person out of the Democratic Party, or to ensure that person is no longer a threat to the Democratic Party. You look at the DNC emails, you look at Debbie Wasserman Schultz being forced to resign, you look at other DNC officials being forced to resign, you look at the House Democrats and their tweet against AOC's campaign chairman, the fact that he's resigning, the fact that another staffer is resigning, the fact that this New York Post article came out, and if it is accurate, it's plausible that the Democratic Party had some role in this, because AOC's campaign and how she came up with all that money and all the wonderful people who helped raise funds for Justice Democrats. I wrote right when they were a thing, I wrote that this is not going to end well in the Huffington Post. It was basically a power grab by the usual suspects regarding all of this nonsense. I'm not going to, whatever. I'm not on the left anymore, and they can just implode with their duplicity and disingenuous behavior. But it's not that easy. It's kind of like low-hanging fruit regarding whether it's President Trump. I don't think it's President Trump, but it's probably something to do with the Democratic Party. I think it's plausible, either encouraging or finding some way to get the government, the feds, to look at AOC's horrible accounting, possible horrible accounting regarding potential campaign finance violations that are not only $1 million possibly funneled into 2 LLCs, but some other issues as well. So, if this is accurate, if you type in AOC in Google, feds probing AOC's chief of staff and campaign after sudden resignation time, then it talks about how they're probing. The feds are looking into possible campaign finance misdeeds by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, chief of staff and lead rainmaker. By the way, Ocasio-Cortez was also on the board of Justice Democrats. You can't do that when that's a possible campaign finance issue as well. It ain't gonna, if this is accurate, if the New York Post article is accurate, it ain't gonna end well. And it is possible that Democrats, potentially Pelosi, since they were at it, AOC and top Democratic Party brass, it's possible that they said, you know what? She's getting too influential. She's making too many gaffes. She is taking too many photos where you can't see what she's crying about, which is another absurd publicity stunt. Her Green New Deal would absolutely tank the economy. And I explained in my Federalist article, one of my Federalist articles, that it would also decimate indigenous communities who have to mine cobalt, lithium, and nickel for electric car vehicle batteries. So then you have AOC helping kick Amazon out of New York, whereas 110,000, her district, 110,000 direct and indirect jobs from the 25 to 40,000 Amazon jobs that would have gone there. So it's just like a nightmare. When you look at not just the rhetoric, like, yeah, we got to do this, stuff, like nails on a chalkboard for the average person to hear. But when you look at, like, what AOC has accomplished, it's like a nightmare for the Democratic Party. She hasn't accomplished anything. Like, if anything, it's if they had Crowley, they would have had 110,000 direct and indirect jobs. Because you're talking about 25,000 Amazon workers. But then the location was actually big enough for 40,000. Then you're talking about 40,000, 25 to 40,000, people. But then you're talking about food trucks, union jobs, dry cleaners, just all the economic activity that would take place from that. That's just one thing that she messed up. Then there's the Green New Deal resolution, which is like, the thing is absurd. The electric car vehicle batteries alone that would need to help fuel this resolution, Green New Deal, would decimate indigenous communities around the planet that mine the metal for electric car vehicle batteries. But anyway, to function properly. But it's like, then you have the immigration issue. President Obama deported 3 million human beings. Where was AOC then? I mean, is there any record? Did she write a letter to the editor saying, "Oh my God, what's President Obama doing?" So it's like, it's just so, and she has a negative favorability rating nationally and especially in swing states. The squad is not popular throughout the country. Not popular. Okay? And it's not because of who they are and their background and whatever. It's because of what they say and what they do. Not popular. And for Democrat, you might say, well, who cares? They're right. Well, Democrats cheat. And Democrats like to talk a big game, but they don't really believe the stuff. That's why Pelosi was like, oh, only 5 people that voted for them, whatever. Give me your thoughts below. They probably pulled a Bernie. They probably pulled a Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Bernie on AOC. That would be interesting. Check out my segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel. You will enjoy it, and it'll be fun. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Thank you very much.